Howdy, welcome to Barrel Hitch Trading. So what you will see here, I'll give you a quick walkthrough as an intro, and this is actually going to serve to be as your day one, what we call T+1. So that is 1 day trailing, not live trading. You won't ever see that, but 3 times a week. Intent here is to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the previous day's trades and what I'm seeing and going through. So this is the setup to expect. You can see what you've got here is the real timestamp executions on my trades for the day. You'll notice here there's that kind of weird looking symbol. Some of you, if you're not used to that string of letters and numbers, those are options. And I trade only one ticker symbol. That is the Russell 2000. So that's the IWM. That's an ETF, an exchange traded fund. You can see it's by BlackRock here, iShares, but it mimics the Russell 2000 index. So that is what it is there for. And you can trade options on it. Not only can you trade options, you can trade short-term options. So I trade 1 day to expiration options. I stay away from the 0 day to expiration just for a few reasons. The biggest of which, though, is that the time decay on those is pretty crazy. So you get some more stability out of the 1 day, and you still get that really good leverage bump. And I do, if you've read through the description on the channel, I do exclusively trade this instrument, just IWM 1 DTE options. And I am conservative on trade size. That's a bunch of the risk control of the system. The trade size, every single trade, 10% of account balance. So that's what you're looking at. However many options contracts it takes, always round down, not up. And that's a big part of the risk control to keep things steady, rolling along, and really reinforcing your trading as you get better at it rather than putting it at risk. So cash only, no leveraging on the account. It's clean as a whistle. Really, it's the straightest you can come at it, and not putting a whole bunch of risk out there. And you really don't need to. That's what the options are for anyway. But you can see there, IWM, that's the instrument, 25/11/25. So today's the 24th, 25th tomorrow. And you can see these both happen to be calls. The reason you can see 4 fills there is these were both winners, but you can look at the timestamps there too. That is a buy to open, sell to close, buy to open, sell to close. And there is one super abnormal thing for me on here today, but I'll tell you what was going on with that as well. So this a little bit cleaner of a presentation of the day, and this is what a really good day looks like. 2 for 2, average return of 7.52%, which is generally what we call unsustainable, right? I've kept up some pretty good numbers, but you're not going to run long term at 7.52% average on your trades net between winners and losers, and that's okay. Good days, bad days, in between days, and keeping everything balanced out, risk reward controlled to the system is what it's all about. But yeah, you can see 2 wins there, both on IWM call. It shows you a little bit cleaner on the entry and the exit. I know that might be a little small for you guys, but you can always zoom in there. Both longs, right, of course, on calls, and you can see both wins, and I mark them there. That's really a psychology marker for me on whether I was following my system rules or not. So a day trade on system, following my rules. A day trade off system, not following my rules. So I'll mark them on system if they're good, along with day trading, and I'll mark them just day trading if they weren't following the rules for some reason. But there you go, a 2.7%, which is a pretty chunk below my average winner. And then this one is just a little bit above average in the double digits on my wins, but a 12.34. Take that every day of the week, twice on Sundays, except we don't trade on Sundays, of course, not at the moment anyway. But this is what you'll see. So that's a 5-minute day chart of the IWM. That's the trades. This is just kind of a statistical representation, and it is, you know, ideally you won't see it often, but it'll be a little bit more informative when there is a loss in there. It'll show a little bit more. Notice you're not going to see, those of you that know important account tracking stats, you're not going to see profit factor in there. And that you'll get, I'll post that end of each month, some real account-wide stats on there, and so you can really see what I'm doing. Right now they're pretty good, but I'll wait and post them at the end of the month in November when there's no more trading days left. You can see what the whole month looked like and really what we're kicking off from then. So getting into these trades to look at it, what you're looking at, you can see this is a pretty strong uptrend day, right? Most gurus, stuff you're going to find online, anything like that, who knows? There's 800 bajillion different ways you can set up a chart, right? And if you saw the tagline, right, it's the old repeat after me, I trade the shape, not the story, right? There's a bunch of traders out there and everybody does it their own which way, right? That makes the most sense to them or whoever they learned from, whatever they can get the processing going on to get themselves the most consistent. I have a way really I develop from the ground up, and I really do. I trade the shape of the chart. I don't care if it's going up, down, bouncing in between, whatever. I am looking for basically catching that point. You can see roughly, right, where these arrows lie on what I coded to kind of help me out a little bit there. I actually use those a little bit more on exits, but they are there for entries as well. And that should be roughly what I was trying to do when I came up with that, is get a little bit earlier than, if any of you know what a Heikin-Ashi bar chart looks like. It's supposed to be tracking, you know, if you're in an uptrend or a downtrend, all green bars or all red bars. That's not what these green and red are, to be sure. Green bar means it opened lower than it closed. So price went up in that 5 minutes. Red bar closed lower than it opened. Price went down. But anyway, the indicator that, like I said, I affectionately call it the Hitch kicker, right, is it's there really to try and give as early as is reasonable a signal of what they call a phase shift in the markets. But basically that is when acceleration starts or deceleration starts. And there are no perfect clean signals, right? Everything is probabilities in trading and in math and most of life for that matter, but that kind of tells you a little bit about how I see stuff. But I do use a bar chart. I just don't look at it and see it as a bar chart. To me, if you think of it as kind of like rolling through here with a bound on each side, to me, it's a curve, right? Any of you guys at math, physics, anything like that, I tend to think in physics terms. So direction, velocity, acceleration, right? And it's a curve. So I'm looking for the bends in the curves, and that's what I trade. The VWAP here in these two EMAs, you can really kind of think of it as, you know, VWAP maybe if you're in a car, right? Think of it like a car. Like I said, I trade basically acceleration, changes in acceleration. And if you think of the VWAP, that's the middle of the road. So today it was, I don't know if we're going left to right, we'll call this left of center, even though it's high of center on the chart. And then the EMAs are kind of like, think of it like an average pathway, right? So they're describing where you have been, but they're a little bit slower to react. So maybe the track that you're taking down the road rather than the middle of the road. So that's what I look at. You can see part of the reason I use these EMAs, you can see how much an instrument will play off of those EMAs. It plays really hard. You can see here it plays really hard a fair bit of the time off the VWAP, that volume weighted average price, and then a little bit lighter off of the EMAs. But those are the types of things that I look for. And really what I'm trying to do, like I said, is find those shifts in acceleration, deceleration, and, you know, mathematically on a curve, that really is the first indication you get of, like I said, what they call a phase shift, right? I A lot of these fancy terms, words, I didn't have a clue what they were until I started researching what I was doing. So, I just look at it, curve mechanics. Very, very few people do that apparently, but it's what makes sense to my brain, and that's what I'm trying to do. So, what did I see today? Most of these will be under 5 minutes, just so you know, this one's a little bit longer because it's the intro. I average just under 4 trades a day, so it's not going to be big long ones. I have had days up to 10 trades. They're very, very rare. I average 3-4 trades a day. You can see today found 2 clean ones in and out. The other reason for that, I only trade in the mornings. I have a full-time day job, so I'm doing this while I'm doing a day job. Shh, don't tell. It doesn't slow me down on the day job, but that's part of the genesis for this, is I needed something I could do at the same time to kind of give a boost, and just started looking for things that made sense to me. But Central Time, like I said, is what I trade, and I don't make a trade before 8:45 in the morning, and I don't enter a trade after noon. So noon Central or later is a no-go, full stop. And really, that's when I look to get out of a trade either. So I'm very, very rare that I'll enter a trade coming up on noon. Earlier, I told you guys there was an aberration in this today. You see here versus here on the time. Normally, this trade here, you can see, went for 9 minutes, right? Really 9.5. Almost every single trade I take is under 10 minutes. I probably average 7 or 8. I don't know. We'll find that in the data as we go along. So I guess I'll discover that at the same time as you. But it's definitely under 10 minutes on average, right? Anything over 10 minutes is rare. 15 minutes is an outlier. Happened to get caught on a phone call today while the curve was just bumping along, and so I let it play out a little bit longer, trying to develop along where I saw this is exceedingly rare. You see anything outside of 15 minutes, I was in a meeting and forgot about it, which I have shiny tendencies and is entirely possible, not good, but possible. Or there were some reasons, specific ones that I got in and stayed in. Or the third one, which is probably about 50% of the time you see those go long, is I was breaking my rules, which happens and is part of what's slowing me down from getting better. So we'll talk about all that kind of stuff together. But let's look at these 2 trades today. Like I said, normally these videos will be under about 5 minutes, so pretty easy to follow and keep up with from here on out. So this first trade, you can see right here, 9:49 Central. What did the chart look like? Boom, 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 boom. Right? And you can see what I'm looking at, right? Ooh, 10 o'clock. See, even I did it right there. What did I see? Right? Going through here, and my signal, right? You guys are not going to have this, but it is real time, so it can flicker on and off during a bar. So I might have seen a Hitch kicker signal that then does not show up when the bar ends, and so you guys might not see it here. So those are there for illustrative purposes only. One, because you guys won't have it unless you go out there and write your own, however makes sense to you. But also because I might have seen one mid-bar and acted on it that just didn't show at the end of the bar. That, in fact, is what happened here. So right around in this area here, it kicked off, right? And it's coming right off of that 8 EMA. So that's one of the things I look for. Some of your highest percentage stuff, it's kicking off one way or the other off of the VWAP, off of the 15 EMA, or off of the 8 EMA. So that's generally what I'm looking for. And then, I don't know if it makes sense to you or not, but basically I'm looking for a kick off of that with acceleration. So that's where I saw on the first one. If it makes sense to you, great. If not, just keep up with it. You'll see the more and more of my trades you see, at least what I'm seeing, hopefully it makes some sense to you, or at least helps you understand what you're doing a little bit better. I actually learned from people who are wildly different traders than I am now, and I had no clue that what I'm doing, like I said earlier, until I started researching it. Almost no one trades like this. When I say almost no one, realistically, even if you're just talking reasonably close, it might be 40 or less people on the planet that do all the things that I do or close to them. Anyway, nothing else published out there on what I do. I don't think it's that complicated. It's just apparently a different way of looking at stuff. Who knew? I'm a little bit different. But yeah, that's what it was. It kicked right off of that ADMA, and I happen to have a hitch kicker signal, which, like I said, for me is something that I designed to give me an idea of when acceleration is kicking in on the curve. And then you can see right here, I was in it for 9 minutes, got out right at the 10 o'clock, right? And you can see that is right before there, right? So I was kind of in over here, out right here. Yep, I missed a big bar. That's okay. There's another reason I missed it. I got out because I had a work meeting, a phone call to be on. So I try to always exit if I'm going to be on a phone call where I can't really pay attention to a trade. The second one, right? This really, really odd one for me because this is more common. 2 minutes to 15 minutes, average under 10. I can't remember the last time I had a trade over an hour. I tried really, really hard not to do that. That one ended up being a good winner. But part of my system is risk per time exposure as well. One, that helps you with the decay on the options. And two, the less you're in the market time-wise, the less bad stuff can happen to you unless you're talking about totally unpredictable news events, things like that. The predictable ones, if you're trading during, say, Federal Open Market Committee meetings announcements, those are predictable news events. Don't do that. I'm talking about the unpredictable, say, random announcements of political policy changes, for example, things like that. Just uncontrollable. It's going to happen to anybody. But so take a look at the second trade here in at 10:44 Central. So we go over here and try to find it. What was I seeing? Boom. Notice anything? Right? On this one, you can see in there right at it, and kicker signal is still there. So that's what I wrote on that, right? You can see I was in a little bit late, but you can also see right there it kissed off the ADMA again. Now, like I told you, it's weird. I was on a call. I captured a lot of move here. Then it went away because I was distracted. Like I said, ooh, shiny, but I do have a day job, and that's my main job, at least for a while. So gave away the gains, you know, not completely, but a lot of them. Why did I stay in? When I came back to it, it was right in here. Structure held. Again, I don't trade is it winning or losing. I don't trade is it going up or down. I trade is the shape doing something where I would want to be in. Now, normally, right, I get in this trade, I ride it up, I see right here that hitch kicker signaled, meaning it's losing acceleration, and shocker, what happens right after that? It comes back down, it dies out, falls off, right? Now, again, I programmed that hitch kicker, so it's seeing things I told it to see. It's just the way I see the chart. And it doesn't do it as well as me. Shocker, right? Most computer programs don't because it's really hard to get the instincts and intuition in there. But normally that would have been my exit right there. The second I feel like acceleration is dying down, or I see the movement on the price start to slow down, or I get a hitch kicker signal the other way, I'm out, right? Because once the curve is no longer mechanically the same, you exit. When I came back to it, I was already back down here, right? I'm seeing this flat part, and I'm sitting right on the EMA. So what did I do? I waited to see, am I going to violate the structure on the curve, meaning go below the EMA and continue curving this way, or is it going to do what it ended up doing and curve back up, right? So curve, curve, that's what I'm trading. And you can actually see in here, it actually started to go over until right there where it died out. Well, that would have been a great exit point, but guess what? I was on another phone call. And these are the dangers of trading while you have a day job, right? My statistics would be better if I did not have such things, but c'est la vie, such is life. But you can see I was out at 12:47. I actually got out at the next exit signal right in there. It wasn't all the way up that bar, I don't think, but at any rate, those ended up being two trades that worked out well dollars wise. This one actually should have been a trade here, and then you're coming off the EMA again, and probably right somewhere in there exit. Not a third trade, but somewhere in there exit, probably right on this one, right? So it should have been two smaller trades today. I did see this early in the day. I just didn't like how big and noisy the candles were. It was right, you can see 850, right, when it's kicking off there. It was still really early in the day, and I just didn't trust the market structure yet based on what I was seeing. But that actually would have been the biggest trade of the day if I took it. But yeah, that's what I do. I do have other charts I look at. We'll get more into those maybe a little bit later. They're also straight canned out of the box. The only thing I use that isn't available to everybody out there on the planet, other than my eyeballs and the way my brain works, is this little signal. And I can tell you, it's one of the things I look for. It doesn't dominate my trades. It's when they say indicator, that means indicator. It's you can tell I don't take all those trades, right? I average 2 to 3 a day. So it's the overall system. It's not a buy here, sell here. That's not what that is. It's just giving me an idea of what's happening on the internals of the curvature of the market and why a little bit. So yeah, that's what I do. That's today. So 2 for 2, average gain of 7.52% on the trade. And we were in the market a total of, there's an hour and 3 minutes, and then there's 9 minutes. So we were in the market a total of an hour and 12 minutes for a 2.7, and these are net numbers here, 2.7% winner and a 12.34% winner. And those are good numbers. We'll talk about that later on when we get to the end of the month. You'll see those too, but you could ride that pony all the way into the barn. Obviously, 100% win rate is not doable, but if you're averaging 7.52% per day on 2 trades, you're riding a printing press, and we'll get into that more later. So yeah, a good day. They don't all look like that, obviously, but that's what we'll do. Get on here and go through the trades, and then you guys can post questions. Feel free to, and that is what to expect on here, except, like I said, that most of these trade updates will be target is 5 minutes or less, because you just don't need that much rolling forward now that you've got a little bit of context. And I'll try to throw in a little bit more of some of the other things I look at, but that's the meat and taters right there. And that's what I've been doing. Like I said, I'll show you the numbers later, but I've got a very good track record over 200 trades now on this going, since I really kind of zeroed in on what my system was. It's a really good track record, and it keeps improving month by month, so even week by week as my execution tightens. So that's what I do, and I'll talk more as we go through things on these, but you guys have a good night, and let me know if you have questions. I'll do my best to answer in general. Obviously, I'm not kicking out my my internals on my code there, but again, I've zero interest in selling anything. I'm not going to, never will, don't need to. Reality is, if you have developed a really good system, you wouldn't need to either, right? Some people do that just because they love it, and more power to them. But if you can really get the wagon moving and rolling along for yourself, then there's just no need, because you'll make more just trading, and the rest becomes a distraction, which is why you guys are going to get these videos at the evening time and looking backwards on a trade instead of real time, because it would distract me, and that's just not what I have interest in. But a community here, talk, ask questions, talk amongst yourselves, and hopefully we'll get some good dialogue going and sharpen each other's minds and all get more efficient together. Yeah, but appreciate you guys. Of course, I think right now what we've got is a couple of subscribers, but if you come across this and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that, and we'll just build a little bit of a community here. on dedicated traders want to get better and talk to each other and get there. Y'all have a great day.